Last year, over a period of 8 months, I designed, prototyped, and built a fully functional virtual reality motion simulator. I began by researching similar projects done by other makers. I used what I learned from their projects to CAD out a very basic design for my platform and order some of the electronic components. I built this first design out of 2x4s using a miter saw I had borrowed from a friend. I attached the motors I had ordered to the frame, spent 2 days trying to figure out why they weren't moving, another day on why the software wasn't working as intended, and then I was off to the races. Figuratively speaking, of course, because I soon learned a couple of important things. First, the motors I had purchased from China weren't even powerful enough to lift the chair, let alone me. And second, much of the frame, especially on and around the joints, needed to be reinforced in order to endure the stresses which I intended to apply. At this point, I felt like I was in way over my head. However, I soon found Wally, who would mentor me throughout the rest of the project. Wally had years of machining and engineering experience, a machine and wood shop in his garage, and lived just a few blocks away. Together with Wally, I was able to machine new parts to reinforce the joints and rods connecting the upper and lower portions of the frame, and also calculate what the proper specifications were for when I went to order new motors. A week or two later, I found exactly the motors I needed, and after negotiating a 10% discount from the manufacturer in China, I had only to wait another 6 weeks until the motors were delivered. Wally and I spent countless hours designing and machining new parts, completely rebuilding the frame and troubleshooting new issues as they arose. Eventually, I built the first working version of my simulator. It was successfully able to lift not just the upper portion of the frame, but also a rider. However, there was still more to do. I cycled through a couple of iterations for motion compensation for the virtual reality headset I was using so that my head would no longer be thrown through the roof of whichever virtual car I was racing, and I also repurposed 2 of the smaller motors. I mounted them to the upper platform and using 2 springs attached both sides of the harness I was using to levers on each motor so that I could dynamically increase or decrease the tension on the harness to simulate the forces of braking. Recently I've simply been enjoying using the simulator. Before COVID, I had a blast demoing it for my friends and family. I'd like to thank the amazing community at xsimulator.net who provided me with all of the open source software I used to drive the motors and gave me amazing technical advice throughout the process. I'm proud to now be a part of their community and help others with similar projects.